Hi everyone, dear participants. We are happy that you were able to join us today. And I hope you can see me and hear me well and clear. It's a Bravery initiative, and today you've joined the Internet of Things soft landing workshop. And we are happy that you're here. Welcome. Вітаємо вас сьогодні тут з нами. And next slide. My name is Anastasia Lubisheva. I represent Vacuum Deep Tech Acceleration as a part of the Seeds of Bravery consortium. And next slide. Today, I'll be your moderator and I'll help you go through this workshop, and we'll do this together. So first of all, we'll have a legal and regulatory framework in IoT presented by Giulio Coraggio. He's a partner at DLA Piper and head of Internet of Things subsector. After that, we'll have an amazing session led by Yuri Golovach. He's a director of software engineering at Amazon, and he will talk about essential skills for IoT innovators. Last but not least, our session block will be dedicated to starting and scaling up IoT in Europe. And Erik Brunnekreef, he's a tech product creator and business builder for IoT. So you'll be able to talk with him, and he'll explain how to do this effectively for your businesses on the international level. And one of the key elements for our workshop is a panel discussion, and here we invited amazing speakers and panelists with you for you. So we'll have a moderator, Yulia Tkach. She's a chief editor at Vector. And our startup founders are from Delft Robotics, Bunchar Aerospace, RecoShelf, and Misu. And they will talk about their challenges, their successes, and share with you the real life experience that they have in this field. Next slide. So a few minutes I want to dedicate to the Seeds of Bravery initiative because we are very proud of it, and hopefully some of you have already joined us on this on the batches that we've launched before. Next slide. So we have, this is actually a consortium where 17 organizations, both Ukrainian and European, are working in order to boost our Ukrainian tech ecosystem, and this is truly a unique project that was launched. And all the activities that we launch inside the Seeds of Bravery are powered by these amazing consortium partners. Next slide. We have 5 project programs that are ongoing, and that include different variety of activities with a focus on different fields of development of your startup. So we have P1 program that is 10,000 euro, P2 25,000 euro, P3 25 as well, and 2 other programs for 50 and for 25,000 euro. So where can you explore these opportunities? They are available on our website, and at the very end of the program there'll be a QR code and the Seeds of Bravery website, where you can explore and choose which one suits better for you. Not only these are the financial and non-refundable grants, but also they are full of activities inside each of these batch that can help you boost your knowledge in essential fields that are necessary for your development and for your growth right now. So please join, please explore these opportunities and take these advantages, because this is truly an amazing program, and we are very dedicated to making them really, really good. Next. The other opportunities and initiatives, we have them apart from the P1, P2, P3, P4, P5 programs. So we have access to additional financing, matchmaking, female entrepreneurship, support from the funding, European funding calls, market discovery and fast track programs. And right now you've joined the fast track program that is dedicated to opening up the industry in a more more broad way. And also we have the deep tech business creation and acceleration, the different educational opportunities for scientists and innovators. Next slide. As of now, I want to tell you that we'll have a Q&A session along the way. So please, we've enabled the chat. So please write all of your questions in Q&A box so that you can interact with our speakers. And this is really a unique opportunity for you to ask them questions. Next slide. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you Giulia Coraggio. Giulia is a partner at DLA Piper and head of Internet of Things subsector, and he will talk about legal and regulatory frameworks in IoT. Giulia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anastasia. It's a real pleasure being here with all of you guys. This wants to be a presentation that is as useful as possible. So if you have questions, just address them to us. And yeah, can you see? No, you don't see it. Again, we have the problem as before. I think. Did you see the screen or not? No. Just a second. I'm trying to sort it out. I don't know why it didn't work. Okay. Do you see it now?
Again, not on the full screen mode. I know that you did this before, so you know how to make it on a full screen.
Now? Do you still see it now?
Not in a full mode, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, it worked before. It should work now. Otherwise, we just go as it is. Screen. Let's try that. You don't see it full. Now you should be able to. No. It doesn't work. No. Probably not. Okay. Maybe I can start like that, so I can operate them. You don't miss much. Again, as I mentioned before, this wants to be a presentation as useful as possible. So if you have questions, just address them to me, either through the chat box or just interrupting me. I will cover the topic of the legal challenges of the Internet of Things. The IoT is a topic that reached a hype in the last 10 years, and even now is even more escalating with the hype around artificial intelligence, because IoT is often powered by artificial intelligence. However, the technology behind IoT was already present, and the hype that was reached now is because of some contingencies. The sensors became cheaper than before, cloud storage became cheaper, and connectivity became ubiquitous, and analytics are now obviously in real time and allow to have a better monitoring of information collected through sensors. Just to give you a better sense of what we're talking about, the area in which IoT is more often used is the industrial sector to perform predictive maintenance, so to monitor the operation of systems and predict malfunctioning, create efficiencies. But then we have smart cities, connected cars, we have smart grids for energy consumption, and so on. So basically, it operates in any sector, and so on. The major shift that is behind the adoption of the IoT is a switch from an environment where we have which is mainly driven by hardware to an environment driven by software. And there is a famous sentence from Mark Anderson that is an investor in many companies, including LinkedIn or major companies in the market, and his comment on in a recent article on the press was around the fact that software is eating the world, which means that we are switching from a business where the pieces of hardware, so the metal pieces, were dominating the market, to a business that is more immaterial, and the money is mainly driven by software and what kind of data I can exploit through software. Just to give you a more practical example, Michelin, that is the very famous French tires manufacturer, they're switching from a model business where they were only selling tires and they had no information at all about their customers, because they were selling products through dealers that even if they were affiliated to them, they were not collecting enough information on the performances of their tires, to a model of business where they are not selling tires, but they are selling a service which includes tires to be replaced on a periodic basis based on their the usage and on the information that is collected through sensors that are embedded into these tires. This model of business is mainly used for truck fleets, where basically having for a day a truck that cannot be used can trigger to a considerable loss of money. But at the same time, the saving behind this model of business is not only in the fact that you can more frequently change the tires, but also because there is a considerable, there is an ongoing relationship between the customer and the tires manufacturer, because the customer has this services agreement under which tires are continuously changed based on the usage. It can connect the information and provide to the company managing the fleet information how their drivers are driving the vehicles and how more efficient they can become, and that considerably reduce the burden of a continuous competition whenever some tires need to be changed. So this is a fantastic way of how IoT, which can dramatically change the way a company can operate. But a parallel is also in the way contracts are structured. I think that this slide is quite it gives a quite straightforward message. It refers to pizza as a service, so basically to the fact that we are switching from a business where basically all the IT infrastructure was based on the pieces of metals, the servers, and the connected devices, to a model business where basically everything is performed on a service based. So the traditional model of business is an on-prem software with a server at the register office of the company. Then we have infrastructure as a service. So basically, the infrastructure doesn't belong to the company that uses the infrastructure, but we have a company that makes available its infrastructure to multiple clients. Then we have a platform as a service. So not only the infrastructure is dematerialized because it doesn't belong to the customer, but even the additional functionalities are dematerialized. And then we have the software as a service, where basically any functionality relating to the provision of the service and all the pieces of metal of technical infrastructure that are functional to the provision of the service are provided on a service basis. This shows you how contracts are changing from contracts when I make a one-off payment to contracts that are now services agreement lasting for a number of years and can create an ongoing relationship between suppliers and customers. As any issue, this new model of business that is driven by IoT unveils new legal issues. First of all, the data ownership. Remember my example around Michelin. They collect many information about how their tires perform on the vehicles of their customers. Who is the owner of that data? I can tell you that in the first years of the IoT, customers were not really aware of the potential and the value of this data. But now it's becoming more and more relevant, and so contracts are becoming more and more sophisticated, and the ownership of data is specifically addressed in those contracts. A tricky point on this aspect within the European Union will occur with the coming to place of the Data Act, that for connected devices as IoT devices will provide the so-called portability right, not only for personal data, but also for machine-to-machine data as the IoT data are. The other issue is how to manage liability, because if I'm not the owner of the famous tires, but I'm just benefiting from of a service from my provider, if for instance a tire goes flat and it wasn't expected that it would have been it was going to go flat pretty soon, then there is a possibility that the customer is going to bring a claim against the provider because the service didn't work properly. So there are pros and cons of switching from a transaction, a one-off transaction, to a services agreement that with an ongoing relationship triggers obviously new potential aspects of potential liabilities. There are tax implications because data that didn't exist before now are sold by the customer to their supplier, or at least in most of the cases, this aspect is not even addressed into the contract. And then there is the problem of governing law, because if we are talking about transactions between entities in multiple jurisdictions, the problem is who is the owner of that data. So basically, we are in an environment where the connected device collects data from whatever interacts with that device. We made the example of the tire. It could be anything. It could be your building. how you use your building, how the energy consumption of your building, the heating consumption of your building, and of any functionality within your building are the so-called data in within the connected device. Data in is creating information, and then based on that information, some trigger activities are performed. Because if I see in a building that, for instance, a very limited number of people are in the building during a specific time frame, I could create some rules on the usage of electricity within that building, so that specific floors, for instance, might be off in terms of in relation to the heating system, in relation to the electricity, and many machines installed on those floors. So basically, what you need to do when you are dealing with the contracts relating to an IoT functionality is, well, first of all, you need to frame the data that are collected. What kind of data rights can be exercised in relation to these rights? Are we talking about the EU database rights, so the database rights, the copyrights? It really depends on the jurisdiction involved. Then the question is, who owns these rights? At the moment, I can tell you that in most of the cases, the answer to this question is regulated into the contract. There aren't rules that overrule general principles of civil law. That once I define who is the owner, I need to define what kind of activities can be done by the owner or by its counterparties in relation to collected data. And eventually I need to understand what rights are on the benefit of customers that generated through their usage of a piece of hardware the data that is then analyzed. So in the example of the tires, what data is the driver of the vehicle holding, what rights is the driver of the vehicle holding on the collected data through the vehicle that the driver is actually driving. And eventually everything needs to be governed into the terms of the contract. Even though there is a tendency by some authorities to create some standard terms which should allow a sort of should enhance the sharing of information so that the economy can be more dynamic. And when the data collected from through the connected device is personal data, as you know, in the European Union, we have the GDPR. The GDPR is known for its massive fines, up to 4% of the global turnover of the breaching entity. Then there is the risk of claims. In some jurisdictions, like Italy, you have the risk of criminal imprisonment. And eventually, if the conduct is considered to be unlawful, then you have the risk that the regulator is going to oblige you to destroy the collected data. This seems to be the aspect that is never is more is not covered enough as part of the risk assessments, but it's very relevant because basically, if I need to delete all the data that I collected, this data is a massive resource for my business that could be considerably devalued. And the question is, what is personal data? Because when personal data needs to relate to individual, it doesn't mean that you need to have the name and surname of the individual. It could be, for instance, an identifier of the device used by an individual. but EU laws extend also beyond personal data when it comes to IoT devices, because the so-called e-privacy directive puts the user of machine-to-machine data under an obligation of confidentiality in relation to that data, and that data cannot be used without the consent of the user of the device from which that data is originated. So, as to the question, who owns the data that was part of the matrix I showed before, the question at the moment doesn't have an answer. The tendency in the market by entities generating this data through their technological infrastructure is to link the data to the device, so prevent that data to be transferred to third parties. I mentioned before the Data Act, the EU Data Act, that wants to prevent specifically that to happen, because it provides from an access right and a data portability right, which would allow a customer using a specific technology to migrate that data to the next supplier. And so that piece of legislation introduces the concept of data owner that is not like the privacy right of data controllers, but it's actually an ownership, an entity that owns and has the right to exploit, even from an economical perspective, data generated through IoT devices. When we this is one type of protection. Another type of protection is given by copyright, but copyright requires an intellectual effort. So the mere collection of information generated through IoT devices is unlikely to be protected by copyright within the European Union. There might be database rights, because database rights in the European Union are broader than just copyrights, and they appreciate the intellectual the effort in compiling the information in a database. But then legislators have been trying to use other potential rights on ownership on IoT data. The protection given to trade secrets is an option, but even antitrust rules are an option. And for instance, in relation to companies like Google, there are ongoing investigations by European authorities, since the European authorities believe that the amount of data they collect relating to the usage of their technologies puts these companies in a competitive or anti-competitive advantage compared to any other company in any sort of market, because that gives them a benefit that no other players in the market would have. Other solutions are the introduction of a new IP right, a so-called producer right. Whoever generates that data is the owner. Last option that, however, is really criticized by US companies, for instance, is to have mandatory clauses in agreements between those that generate data and those that provide the technology. This is not likely to be ever approved because basically it would limit the freedom of negotiation of the parties in contracts. So now we overcome the issue relating to the data ownership. As I said, it's not black or white. It needs to be addressed. My recommendation is to cover it as much as possible in the contract. But in the contract, you need to manage also liability. If, for instance, a company is relying on an IoT technology and that IoT technology is not working, then the supplier might face some potential challenges because the lack of functioning of that IoT device might have caused a financial harm to the company. So how do you deal with that? You can, in the contract, you can put in place some liability cap and prevent to bring claims for indirect losses. You can agree on an insurance coverage. However, it has a cost. You can put in place indemnity clauses, deciding what is in and what is out. Having a liquidated damages clause, a penalty in case of lack of functioning, and introducing some exceptions to the liability regime in case of force majeure, in case of relief events that identify the perimeter in which the provider of the IoT technology is responsible and what goes beyond the perimeter of its own responsibility. So you have the contract now. You need to decide who is the owner, who is responsible for what. You need to decide what the governing law is. There is a tendency internationally to rely on UK law. However, the UK is no longer part of the European Union, and that has weakened the relevance of UK law in international transactions. Same applies for the forum selection clause. What we really don't recommend is to have a governing law of the country and a jurisdiction of a different country to sort disputes, because in that case the court of the different country shall appoint an expert to interpret a law that is not of the home country, and it might be subject to interpretations which are not always consistent. Last point, once you identify the governing law, the jurisdiction, you need to understand how you're going to deal with enforcement. If you are on the side of the entity receiving the IoT technology, you want to have an enforcement clause that is as broad as possible in order to be able to enforce the right in any possible jurisdiction. At the same time, if it might be costly, the enforcement in the home country of the provider. So what you want to put in place is to have an insurance coverage or a bank guarantee or any sort of instrument that allows you to get access to a financial recovery in the shortest possible time. Bearing in mind that these transactions in most of the cases are multi-jurisdictional and they can become costly. This is it for me. I've been, I think, enough fast. I wonder whether you have questions.
We do.
Okay,
we do, and I will read them to you in order for you to reply. The first question would be, what obligations do privacy policy impose if no personal data is collected or processed?
Well, the privacy laws in some cases apply also to non-personal data, or at least data relating to companies. I mentioned the EU e-privacy directive. The e-privacy directive applies also to machine-to-machine data, so IoT data generated through pieces of hardware. In that case, there is an obligation of confidentiality on the usage of that data, and there is an obligation to collect that data only with the consent of the data owner of the device from which the data is originated.
Thank you for your answer. We'll take two more questions. Next one is from Alina. What are the most common legal mistakes that startup can make on the MVP stage while starting tests on the EU market?
Are we talking about, I guess, tests on IoT infrastructure? I mean, the startups, what I would say is the biggest mistake is to consider the European Union as a single market, because it's true that we have many pieces of legislation that are consistent. Many of them are based on directives that have been inconsistently implemented. But even when we have EU regulations that should be directly applicable in each single EU country, unfortunately, there is a continuous battle among local authorities, and there is an inconsistent application of EU legislation. So my recommendation is to perform a high-level assessment in identifying the countries where you can get in the short term most of the financial benefits, focus on one or two markets, and then decide to expand rather than targeting the whole European Union in one go.
Thank you so much. And the last question, is there a most effective way to limit liability in contractual agreements?
Well, it's the most effective would be to introduce a liability cap. In most of the countries in the European Union, you would have a liability cap that is not enforceable in case of gross negligence or willful misconduct, which I guess for a startup is a big of a problem. I do believe that startups should take some risks, because otherwise the biggest innovations in the market will never be done. But these risks need to be calculated. I mean, if I just think about all the major artificial intelligence providers in the market, if they were thinking that all the scrape data through which they train their generative AI solutions could be in breach of privacy rights or IP law, they wouldn't have created the biggest innovation of this century, probably. So you need to consider the risks and how to minimize that. Again, don't target from the very beginning the whole world. You need to focus on the countries where you can get the best margin.
Thank you so much for your answers and for your presentation. It was Giulio Coraggio with us, presenting and helping you understand legal requirements and regulations. Giulio, thank you for joining, for your support on our initiative. And as of now, we're moving forward. And
thank you, everyone. And it was a pleasure. We're really close to you, and hope this bad moment is going to end very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And right now we are going to move to our next blog that will be dedicated to essential skills for IoT innovators. And I'm very personally excited about this blog. It will be presented by Yuri Golovach, Director of Software Engineering at Amazon. Yuri, are you with us? Please. Hi.
Yes, yes, I'm with you. I'm just wondering if you can see me, and yes, I guess you can both see and hear me. Give me a second, and give me a second to find the slide with presentation and open it. Sorry for this small delay. While I'm opening slide and sharing the screen, do we have anyone on this meeting who doesn't speak Ukrainian? Because if we have at least one such person, I will continue in English. If everyone understands Ukrainian,
we do.
Maybe, yeah, okay.
We actually do.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
International.
Then let's continue in English. So, great. And give me a second to share the presentation.
Of course. Take your time.
Okay, I have some sharing restrictions. Okay, now it should be fine. Now it should be fine. So, can you see my screen now?
We can. Yes, but just not in the full mode. Can you try to do it in the full mode?
Okay. Now, do you see it now in full mode or not?
No.
Okay. May I ask? May we do then the next item? I will stop sharing and just let me maybe send it to you. And I
We
need
have
your
it already.
assistance.
I will share it
Okay.
for
Can
you
you please
if you
share on
don't
my
mind.
behalf? Yeah. Thank you.
Ata, if you can do that, greatly appreciated.
Okay. So as soon as it's shared, I would be ready to start.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So the topic which was introduced in the agenda was like very wide, and keeping in mind that I have like 25-30 minutes for the presentation, I voluntarily changed this topic. And since I was also informed that most part of you are startup related community, so I decided to change a little bit direction and talk about common mistakes and major mistakes which startup founders are doing, and they would be like common mistakes for any startup, like mistakes which are which done exactly in IoT sphere. So please, let's move to the next slide. And yeah, just small introduction about myself. I started my career as software engineer like 20 years ago in embedded sphere. I started from Motorola. Then I had long career path, lead huge teams for product organization. Now I'm working in Amazon. As you might be aware, Amazon Department of Device and Services produces Ring. This is my like the brand where I'm working for. Then we have Amazon Echo, Kindle, Fire TV, a lot of other great devices and gadgets. And devices which I doing with my teams, used by thousands of millions households in US and a lot of in Europe as well. And this is about like technical expertise. When we are talking about startup experience, unfortunately, I lost like $500,000 of my own money on failed startups. So all mistakes which I will share with you, they unfortunately, I paid for these mistakes a very huge amount for own money. And would be happy to share like fails which I did by myself. And this way I know what I will do different next time. But also items which I seen during my career, especially what's related to IoT topics. So let's move to the next slide. I would like to start from the mostly common mistake, which I seen across incredibly huge amount of startups. I seen this. I also participate in like my goodwill, helping with Ukraine startup fund analysis, and one of the experts in terms of startups. So like very common mistake which I see is weak or even not weak, but absent marketing strategy. How usually huge amount of startups, like maybe, I don't know, it's my own stats, but maybe like 80% of startups which I seen, how they were designed. Usually one engineer have a great idea and start pushing this idea and pitching it across his network, which is also engineering folks. Some of them might be excited and they start doing some product. They doing some product with strong belief in their mind that this product is definitely what market needs. And this is a very common mistake because market doesn't need your product. Be honest, I even don't remember even one individual case when really market was looking for product and the engineering team did the right fit. Usually engineering team spends usually 1 year. It's average results. Time to time it's less, time to time more, but like average 1 year, then people are burn it out because nobody needs the product which they did. And startup failed at this point. Good item that people with such a scenario using only their own time. So usually they even don't lose money. They lose their time only. So what learning can we have from such a case? Before doing something, first talk to your customers. And when you are talking to your customers, you need to understand that customer really wants to have your product. And this is my first feedback to any of you who like working on startup. Start from customers' interviews. If you have, for example, any direct sales in your sales funnel, you should go and talk directly to your customers. If you plan to do this over internet, you plan some marketing strategies, for example, using Facebook, Google, TikTok, any other social media, or just let's imagine influencers marketing, etc. That's also fine, but then at least design landing page, check, put like, I don't know, $5K, $10K to the sales channels and check how many people will visit your landing page, how many will press your buy button. And then, yes, for sure, you would not be able to sell product because it's not ready yet. But at least you will have a very good understanding how much customer acquisition cost works for you, and that your product is really interesting to market. And even these 5K or 10K of dollars, usually you don't need more to check this part. Totally and definitely much smaller than the amount of money you have to put in development, even if you will calculate the okay, not real money, but wasting of your time and your colleagues. Second item, which I constantly see like a huge red flag for me, when startups are saying that there are no competitors. When you create something new, your competitors can be not like you. Competitors are businesses who serves customer needs and closes customer needs before you. Because if somebody have their needs and ready to pay for their needs, there are always services where money can be taken and service can be received. Good example. Well, just couple of examples to better understand my point. When Uber stepped into the market, people were already using taxi cabs. And Uber competitors were old-style taxi firms where they have a phone call centers where people were calling, asking for taxi, and then waiting on this taxi, etc. So Uber was not compete with Lyft, Bolt, other services which happens after them. Uber was competing with taxi companies. And in fact, answer on question, who is your competitor, is a question about what market segment you would like to take money from. So like people were already spending on taxi. They were not spending on something else. And you just showing with your innovation how this money can be utilized in a better way for customer. Not so obvious example, but I also think it's a very good example. Who were Google competitors? And some people, when we are talking about Google competitors, can start, especially folks who like my age or older, can say like, okay, we had that time Yahoo, Alta Vista, etc., etc. But my answer is no. This company, for sure, they were providing search engines in internets, but Google was not doing their business on search engines. Google competitors was the very huge economy direction, which is almost dead for today, which was killed by Google. Google killed printed papers and magazines. And some of you may ask, but how Google killed them? Answer is very simple. Like 20, 30 years ago, all printed papers and magazines, they were earning money not from selling magazines to readers. They were earning most part of their money by selling advertisement. And in fact, this business was about selling place for advertisement to real business. And magazines were a channel of how advertisement comes to end customer table. And Google just proposed much better and efficient way in terms of conversion customers who will read something to exactly your customers by utilizing these search words, etc., etc. So Google provided to real business a way how much cheaper they can convert advertisement into real customers. And as you can see, like for people especially who are mature, in your childhood, you were able to see on each bus stop the place where somebody was selling newspapers and magazines. Right now, it's not the case. Right now, nobody is doing this. And thanks to Google. So like when I see startup documents and there are no competitors, it means like startup even do not understand who they compete with, and they do not understand their customers and the customer needs. Next one, no customer acquisition cost check. No, please, not next slide. I'm sorry. I need to stay here a little bit longer. So next one is no customer acquisition cost check. This part is very simple. I very often see some documents and pitches where startup is saying some like to acquire customer, I need like $5, I need $10. In number of spheres, just like just some numbers, yeah. Customer acquisition cost might be very different due to the ways how you acquire customers. But when we are talking about startup is something what at the end of the day should become a unicorn. And when you are testing your customer acquisition cost, you don't need to expect like, okay, I did a silent sales through some forums, through some like small instruments. I got my group of people. It cost me like, I don't know, $1 per client. Okay, this is good, but what instruments would you use to feed 1 million customers? Are forums a right way to feed 1 million customer? No, it's not right way. You can't utilize this leverage. So what's your real customer acquisition cost when you are talking about 1 million customers? If it's not the case, if it's not a channel, please don't put this data in your pitch deck. It means that you haven't validated your customer acquisition cost. So please, when you're doing this and when you check in customer acquisition cost, try to think on scale. And if you are not doing on scale, you are either fooling yourself or fooling investors which you are pitching. Okay. Next one is expenses pivot check. So this is my favorite topic, where actually I lost a lot of money. And this is a topic which I will also talk on next slides, but like a very common mistake when startups, instead of designing really minimum viable product or minimum saleable product, or I don't know, there are a lot of buzzwords around this, like what we have also minimum lovable product I heard as well. But like instead really designing something new to test your business model, engineering folks always try to do a lot to create ideal product instead of doing something small and check if this small part really fit customer needs. And this is like very common mistake because like they spend a lot of resources very late going to pivot trials when all their resources already spent. And it led to a case when nobody like tried, even if there is a good case when like the product you designed can fit the market with some changes, your team is already burned out and you don't have resources to make these changes. I'm talking like it can be like finance resources, like morale resources, like any else. So like whenever it's possible to design a small pivot in extremely quick and cheap way and test the market, this is the only way for success, because you need to test your hypothesis and theory that your product really is what market looks for. And at this point, I can recommend a good book, which I wrote at the bottom of this slide. It's called $100 Startup. It provides a lot of ideas and examples how teams did pivoting and trials for extremely limited budget. And this is the only philosophy and ideology you should think about when you are talking about startup. Startup is not about like earning a lot of money from investors. Startup is about efficiency, which means like you are finding the mostly suitable and working business model for very limited amount of money, because usually startup fails and this money is what usually would be lost. And you believe me, you don't want to lose a lot. Okay. Last at this slide is this is what I'm calling 30% benefit rule. If you have competitors and you would like to give them something new, to give something new to the market, there is kind of sensitivity when customers start looking in your site. And this is what my empiric guess, what I just found during my own life, that to start be attractive to customers, you need be 30% better. And it's very hard to measure this 30% because like easiest way for sure, it's like about cost, like if you 30% cheaper, or you do like 30% faster or something like this. But like if you provide very small improvement, unless it's a B2B segment, because for B2B, even a couple percent matters, especially, for example, if we are talking with you about, for example, payment system. For payment system, even 0.5% or 1% matters a lot. But if you are talking about end customer, and then the customers, they are very they have some attraction to brands. to take them out from these brands, you need to provide really good advantages. And if these advantages are small, people just will continue use previous products and previous brands. So be clear where your customer advantage, and if it's like small, like 10%, people usually will not even feel it. So just try to also figure out on this point. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, second major mistake. Second major mistake is when customer setting budget, and budget is not just a money. Budget is a money assigned to the time schedule, how you want to invest this money in a period of time. So this is just a definition of budget. And first mistake, which I constantly see across engineering startups, when they are set up in budget, their budget on development can be like 70% of their total budget or 80% of their total budget. This is like also red flag for me, because if the team set up development budget more than 30%, okay, 35 maximum, it means that they did a very poor investigation and bad job trying to understand their business needs and expenses for other direction. And first of all, it's marketing, sales, legal, finance, any other logistic, etc., etc. So like and this is like, again, it's empiric data. For sure, startups are different. This number might be different, but like if I see the development budget set like more than 30%, I start very deeply look in other aspects of the budget to understand what's missed. And this is like very clear sign. Next one. Next mistake is also very common for engineers and for engineering leaders when they're using part-time resources. What's the problem with part-time resources? In a short period of time, there is no problem usually. It's a good way to save some money. But on longer term, you can't rely on part-time resources, because like in half of the year or in a year from now, such people might change the job, receive some other obligations, etc., etc., and you will lose these people together with their knowledge. So whenever it's possible, for sure, it's not always possible, but whenever it's possible for your startup, don't use part-time resources. Next one. Next part is related exactly to IoT. In IoT, there is different price of mistake. I'm talking about development mistakes. And development mistakes can be done on different phases of IoT development. What makes us different? The longer cycle of changes. For example, just example from my past. A long time ago, we designed the industrial design for one of our new doorbell. And in this doorbell, we have a lens and we have a button to let a guest press the doorbell, and household owner can hear the sound and receive notification on mobile. And when we already printed, I don't know how many, but I guess, yeah, maybe even a couple of thousand devices, and started doing beta trials. Beta trials means like we have a massive pool of customers who are using the product before we start massive production and selling. And we found like 25 of our customers, instead of pressing the ring button, were pressing the camera, because they were not able to recognize where is the button and where is the camera. And you can imagine that, like, at this point, you found this issue only in trials, which is very late stage. Then you need to redesign the mechanical design. Together with mechanical design, it's very common that you need to redesign, not always, but it's also common. You need to redesign the hardware design, antenna design, so radio should work differently, and a lot of other aspects. Usually mistakes are not so crisp in terms of industrial. Usually they are related to hardware. But when you create hardware, you also, to receive the new version of your board, you need to spend usually a couple months because it's pretty long and expensive process. And very common mistake when startups are doing something, they are not set up in enough buffer for themselves to make all of these redesigns, which lead always to the pretty bad results, because at some point you just have a product which is too fresh with a lot of bugs, and your customers are simply not happy and not ready to pay you money. Next one is trials check. So this is also common situation when IoT startup is making device, but not try to test it on a massive scale because it's expensive. Like, let's imagine just to create one sample of your device, you need to put $100. And to receive more or less clear metrics, for example, for audio, sound, or video sending, etc., you need to set in field like 1,000 devices to see that everything works like it should be. And this is usually, which is also not set in your budget, and you missed this. So be careful and fund such aspects, otherwise the product quality which you will release would be very far from what you would be able to sell. Next common mistake: how startup calculate the device price. Usually how engineering are thinking. In hardware design, there is such a word, BOM, B-O-M, it's bill of material, which means how much exactly you have to spend on all microcontrollers, on all wires, on board design, etc. So if you would like to have any profit from your device, which you sell on market, and your bill of material cost like $20, to receive profit from your activity, you should start selling this device with 5x. So the price should be $100. I will not dive deep here explaining why, but this is like very common rule. If you set price less than 5x, usually you would be out of money for your operational activity or to return money to your investors. For sure, there is one exception. If you sell device, IoT device, and you earn money on subscription basis, you can do it smaller. You can do it much smaller, like usually it can be 3x, even time to time less, because with subscription you can return money in a period of time from your customers. But if you don't have a subscription model, please be careful and use this 5x as like historically calibrated multiplier. Last but not least, when you are pitching your idea and talking to your clients, there is a great phrase in American English: put your money where your mouth is. You will start receiving a lot of positive feedback, great idea, blah, 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 but always calibrate it with the question, okay, are you ready to buy this? And unless you have enough people who providing you feedback, something like shut up and take my money, you shouldn't invest. Then you need to work more on your proposal. Okay, That's all about this slide. Let's move to the next one. And last slide, which I wanted to cover and talk on this meeting is comfort, what I'm calling comfort zone mistakes. This is also what I constantly see across a lot of startups, a lot of founders, and I see next. Founders with background in sales always have great calculation of sales, but very weak projection of the other type of expenses, like development expenses. They have some dreams about prices, how much it will cost. They use some rumors instead of data, etc., etc., and usually they incorrectly calculate development budget. Founders which are coming from engineer have great calculations how much it will cost on engineering side, but put zero budgets on sales, on marketing, and everything else, which also doesn't work. So first one, if you would like to be successful founder, you need to first build a strong team which leverage absence of your knowledge in spheres where you are not friendly, and your business plan and your pitch deck as a result should be very calibrated by all these folks. And if you have something, you should always remember that in ideal case, like 30%, it's ideal case. Usually it's much smaller. But like other 70%, you need good either people who you will pay to, or your partners who will cover gaps where you are weak. So please go out of your comfort zone, not concentrate on what you know, because what you know, you can always delegate. This sounds strange, but this is how I've seen successful CEO roles. When I know IT and I'm not doing IT, I'm delegating it to people who I can hire and control. While I will work on everything what I don't know to close these gaps, because my mistakes would be there. My mistakes wouldn't be in items which I very good know. So please come out from your comfort zone. This is the first mistake. Next one. What I also seen, like mostly right examples, what CEO is doing. First of all, and this is, by the way, what Jeff Bezos, who is Amazon founder, was talking like 20 years ago in his interviews. I encourage you to look them on YouTube. First of all, concentrate on customer stories and anecdotes. This is very exciting and very powerful instrument to find what you are doing wrong and what you can do better. And I really recommend to spend like 20 minutes of your time, 30 minutes of your time, listen to Jeff. He knows what he speaking about. And this is the first rule. Good CEO always on the top of all customer stories and anecdotes, and carefully read everything what put on his table. And for example, just let me share a ring example. On boxes with our devices, there always was CEO email address to let you as a customer send letter directly to CEO, and he spends the time checking emails, finding values from customer stories and feedbacks to improve the products. So you can delegate this at least time to time. You have dive deeper. For sure, if you're working on a wide scale, you can do everything by yourself. But at least part of the time, you need to check this item to understand that your organization, your business is working in a healthy mode and customer problems are addressed. Next one is marketing and sales channels. if you doesn't own this, you don't own your business. If someone else owns marketing and sales channels, such a person owns your business. This is just a rule. Next one. Good CEO is always concentrated on innovations, because this is how life works. This is how the world is evolving. Some innovation happens, and you as CEO and business owner, you looking if you can leverage your customer proposal with these new technologies, some other type of innovations, etc., etc. And you should be the first driver to put something good in your system to leverage your customer. And historically, just a matter of time, I will not dive deep here, but like if you are not concentrated on innovations, how you can improve your business with innovations, usually this is not a story you can delegate to other people. And yes, last but not least, it's a funding. Good CEO is a good fundraiser. But in fact, if previous topics close it correctly, investors will come to you by themselves. So like you control funding, but you don't need to like spend too much time on this. Last but not least, about comfort zone. Ring, it's not popular in Europe, especially if we have a lot of folks in Ukraine. You can imagine to think about Ring like a more well-known company in Ukraine is Ajax. But like this is what we are doing as well. But we are doing this for US market, and US market is, let's say, slightly bigger than Ukrainian one. And Jamie Simonov, who was CEO and founder of Ring, on one meeting, I remember we acquired one company to extend our technology leverage, and we fly to the Finland and had a talk with the local team after the acquisition. And then it was a Q&A session to let new teammates ask questions directly from Jamie. And one of a very young teammate, maybe guy like 25 years old, something like this, he asked a question. He asked it next. Jamie, keeping in mind that you did a great business, you sold it to Amazon for $1 billion, and right now you are leading this business as part of Amazon story as well. What can you say to yourself if imagine that you can talk to you but 12 years younger? So Jamie smiled. Then his face became pretty serious. He was thinking on this question and then provided feedback. Don't do this. And this part of feedback is a very crisp, because when US founders start playing this story, you even can't imagine how much work and how many challenges you will meet during your business growth, even in a case if it's success story. So if you are not ready to put your life on this, at least for the next 10 years, better not to start. So this is the summary which I wanted to use to finish my presentation, and I'm ready to Q&A part.
Wonderful, Yuri. First of all, thank you so much for this very insightful presentation. We have many questions for you, and let's start from the question: what is the most exciting discovery that you did during the prototypes test and the pivot has followed?
Okay, so I can say exciting. Usually it doesn't work this way. Usually a business works, and by the way, I can also provide one recommendation which helps a lot. At least it helped me a lot, and I found it like mostly valuable part of my MBA education. There is a business game called Mark Strat, like short form of marketing strategy, like Mark Strat. It's costly. It costs like maybe $400 or $500 per participant. It took like a couple days, so usually it's played for weekend. But I really recommend you to play to put this money in and play this game to better understand how marketing works. Because it's really very good. It was designed, if I correctly remember, by Harvard Business School, maybe like 50 years ago, and it very good close the gap, especially for folks who doesn't pretty good understand marketing and sales and hadn't played the role of CEO in a period of time. Very good emulates this role and understanding how competition wars are happening. And actually, the process started from analysis of market and clear understanding why you would like to design a product, why you think it would be innovative, why your customers will come to you, not to competitors. And then actually trials and all these aspects, they are instruments to improve your product quality. It's not about like exciting findings. If we are talking about my experience, but I have a lot of friends which did exciting findings during their pivot. And let me share the case of my friend. This guy was selling agriculture. Like weeds or something like this, so a lot of agriculture. And he wanted to set up in Ukraine a kind of the stock, sorry, not stock, but like market, internet market, where farmers can sell so we have in Ukraine, like, if I correctly remember numbers, like 10,000 farmers which produce a lot of agriculture production, different type of agriculture production. And we have like 220 companies which are buying these from farmers. And he wanted to become the man in the middle who create a marketplace where then can meet each other. So he found how this was done in United States. During his US visit, he see how it works. He put $1 million from his pocket to replicate it. He hired IT folks who did this for him. He put a lot of money in this good item that he was rich enough to fund this from his pocket. And then, as soon as this work was done, he was start going through his customers and pitching them, especially farmers. And he found that farmers, with all respect, they are not so smart, not smart enough to use his solution, because they can like talk thousands of hours about the ground, how it grows, etc., but explain how to set up options or futures for the products and to sell them, it doesn't work. And he was in pretty bad mood due to this. But then he found that like he's talking with all his customers through Viber. So then he asked himself, what can I do better? And he put not $1 million, but like $3,000 or $4,000 to design a chat bot in Viber to let provide amount of goods to sell from customers, and let the trading companies bet on these productions and also provide their prices for acquiring. In a half of the year, all 10,000 farmers were using his Viber bot, and 80% of trade companies also. So in fact, he became monopoly on this market. He sold this solution in a period of time much bigger than $1 million and take his money out. But he told me that, Yuri, this 1 million was the price of my learning. So I guess it's a good example to address the pivot, yeah? And yeah, I don't recommend to spend 1 million. By the way, what did they found? What did they found? That when you are playing such a game, you receive totally same experience, but the price you pay for this experience depends only how deep your pocket is. For example, if you have $1 million in your pocket, you will pay for it 1 million. I'm not so rich like that guy. I spent half of what he spent. But this is lessons learned. You can receive totally same experience if you start playing this game earlier. When you have like a couple thousand of dollars in your pocket, you will receive totally same experience, but will put less. Okay, next question, please.
We'll take 2 more questions because we're limited to time. The first question would be, what are the trends, and based on your experience, how do you see IoT market in like 5, 10, 20 years? So what is the retrospective?
So be honest, first of all, I hate word IoT. Why? Because it's buzzword. IoT is microprocessors which are used everywhere, and then we are moving forward, then more it will evolve. Right now, we have number of challenges which IoT sphere has to unblock and to have dramatical increase. First challenge is limitations in batteries. This is the biggest concern, and like as soon as this topic is resolved, and I hope in a period of time, it's not immediate, it's a matter of time, would be resolved, we would move much faster and efficiently. Second topic is about limitations of CPU resources. So Google promised their first quantum computer like 10 years ago and failed that promise, unfortunately. Like we expect to have something there, but like I also think it's not a matter of years, it may be matters of decade. So I don't see right now any strong trends on IoT market which will change it. No, we are not there yet. We need first resolve energy. Second, we need to resolve the limitations with existing microprocessor architecture. For sure, yes. Right now, if we are talking trends, right now, like everyone use ARM architecture, but I'm not sure if it's a topic which I interested for this audience. I can talk about this a lot, but like for sure, yes, we have also strong influence of AI. But there is also a trade-off. What's the right way? Should we set up some AI engines inside IoT devices? First of all, IoT devices usually small. You don't have neither memory nor battery power to process it in a way, or you need to transmit data in cloud and process it there, which is more common case. But like, that's all what I can say at this point. I don't see any significant trends which will dramatically change market. AI will change market, but not IoT. This is my strong vision.
A small question: what's your opinion? Manufacturing in USA or in Europe, China, in Ukraine? What would be your choice and advice to our entrepreneurs?
Okay, so first of all, in Ukraine, you can do quick and pretty high quality manufacturing, but it's expensive. Right now, companies, I will not say names, you can Google this by yourself. They receive an additional income, and first of all, for working in a risky zone, keeping in mind war, etc., etc. Then you have a lot of logistic challenges to bring some elements, some transistors in Ukraine. Some of them are under military control as well, etc., etc. So like it's quick but costly, and but it's good. It's good. No, I used a number of times Ukraine subcontractors who helped me, and like I was always satisfied with their results. But it's costly. For Europe, you have like more stable delivery cycle, especially keeping in mind risks in Ukraine for power outage. This is the risk I don't recommend you to take on yourself. In Europe, you will not have this risk. Europe have much easier way for designing devices, etc., etc. It's not so quick like in US, for example, or Canada. US and Canada much quicker. About China, be always cautious about military and taxation risks. This is my feedback, and as far as I see, yes, if you're asking me also about kind of trend, I see a lot of big players moving their production out of China. They are moving production to Philippines, to sorry, forgot the name. Like China neighbor countries, let's say. A lot of them, and a lot of them are not communist countries, and even if they are, they have much friendly relations with open world, comparing to challenges unfortunately last year exist with China. So like be careful about it. But China is still attractive, but also like we have impressions that China is cheap. China is not cheap. It's cheaper produce, yes, because a lot of companies producing their necessary components. Like usually to design one device, you may need like 800,000 components, for example, and you need to have all logistic in place to make it happen. So it's cheaper from logistic. But if you talking, for example, about like China people are poor and you can leverage their effort. No, they are not poor. If you will check the amount of money they receive, unfortunately, they receive much more than Ukrainians. So that's not true.
Thank you for your answer. And to finalize and coming back to the topic that we wanted to cover, so maybe you can briefly cover what are the key soft and hard skills that successful IT entrepreneur must have, and from your point of view.
Just like topics which you asked me to present, they about much more wider amount of time. So like to have some real outcome from these 30 seconds would not be enough, but it's enough to recommend one book which I very appreciate. This book is called Only Paranoid Survives. It was written by a guy who created Intel and who did Intel a top-notch company. And this is, by the way, what do I see? Unfortunately, in a period of time, like
Andrew Grove.
Yeah, Andrew Grove. Yeah, they like. I've not seen that a lot of people following their leaders' advices in this book, but I read this book 2 times in my past. One time I did this like a couple of years ago. The first time I read it was like 15 years ago. And this is a book which I recommend to read. It's full of great wisdom and really good advices to be efficient leader for the company. But it's not about startups. It's more for stable business. And also, by the way, my also one part which I forgot to say. Startup, it's a different type of business. Never use your business experience if you from corporate sphere, the instruments which you successfully use in corporate sphere and which you make you successful, they are not applicable for startups. The skill set, the knowledge should be totally different. For startup, quick, ugly pivot might lead to customer satisfaction because market really needs your solution, and he will start buying something what is poorly designed, not ideal, etc., etc. But because it's necessary. Good example, when war started, you remember how first Ukrainian drones, which were ugly, bad, etc., etc., but were able to feed the goal and kill enemies. Yeah, it was working. Yes. So when market needs something, you shouldn't move ideal way. You need to give something quick and fast, and this will bring you a lot of happy customers. If you, for example, instead of this, will spend huge amount of money on development, and this is what I've seen so many times, you usually either can't finish development because you invested too much money and you don't have this for next phases, or you invested too much, spent too long time, and your market is already taken by some other companies which are eating your breakfast. So that's the point.
Mm-hmm. Yuri, appreciate a lot the fascinating experience that you shared with us and your knowledge. I think we could, you could talk for a few more hours answering
Exactly.
our questions. Yeah, sorry, dear participants, that we don't have this opportunity, but we are very grateful for your time. Yuri, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we are ready to move forward, and next our panelist will be Erik Brunnekreef. He is a tech product creator and business builder for IoT, director of satellite and IoT data Deutsche Telekom, CEO, Tech Business Builders, and a member of the program committee of the IoT Solutions World Congress. And he will talk to you and explain how to start and scale up IoT in Europe. So Erik, the floor is yours. Hi. Nice to see you, but I can't hear you, unfortunately. Not now, not yet. Maybe you can check the connection of an audio, and meanwhile, can we please have the presentation of Erik? I will let you know if something changes, Erik, and we can see. And Ata, if you can turn on the presentation of Erik, I would really appreciate it. Wonderful, thank you so much.
No, there's nothing coming through there, Anastasia.
Sorry?
There's nothing coming through with regards to the audio. And he's not on mute.
Yeah, Erik, maybe you can, I don't know, log out and log in again. Yeah. Maybe that would be the best solution for it. Because
I think that's a good idea.
Thank you, Fiona. While Erik is setting up his mic, dear participants, I want to tell you that following we'll have this session on starting and scaling up IoT in Europe, and after that we'll have a panel discussion with amazing entrepreneurs from Ukraine that are disrupting foreign markets, and it will be like very interactive discussion between them. So if you have questions, also we'll be happy that you can type them in our chat. Just a reminder that this recording will be shared with you after the workshop, and you will have all the presentations as well. So you'll have the opportunity to like check it and once again revise the information. Erik, if you're here with us, I saw that you joined and connecting. I'm sorry, we can't hear you. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. We can see it. Oh, now we can actually. Something is processing.
Would this work?
Yes, wonderful. Hi.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Well,
You ready to start?
yeah, let's go quickly because it's we're getting late.
Of course.
So first, thanks very much, Anastasia, for giving me some radio time to speak about startups and scale, especially in Europe. Let's immediately go to the next slide. I also would like to thank everybody's here listening. I can't see you. I have no clue how many people there are. So maybe one or two, maybe also thousands, I never know. So my name's Erik. I do actually two things. Anastasia has already said that I'm building products, technical products, digital products, and I'm building businesses around that. And I do that with tech business builders, and I also do this with corporate companies. You see a few of them here below that I have been assisting. And currently I'm making satellite IoT products for Deutsche Telekom. So that's very interesting. I'll come back to that with a few examples later. So let's get quickly to the agenda. So what would that's the next page. What would I like to do actually today? So I would talk a little bit about what's the European IoT market, but then from a different perspective. Then also something about making the right product for the right customer, because that's what it's all about. I heard also a couple of things from Yuri, who was presenting before me, that I will mention. Then, of course, when you want to get into new countries, so expand markets, you first need to check if your product is ready to go, and then see if you are ready for the market where you want to go in. So, and then maybe a couple of suggestions for a good landing in those markets. So let's go over to the next slide, where we have a bit of a map of Europe, where everybody also looks, what is the market potential for this and for that. I always look at, is there a customer for my product? So first I need to have some kind of product. And when I say product, I don't mean a technology, but I mean something that you can sell and that you can deliver, because only by then it's a product. So I first need to have a look, what are, where are these customers? And you see that, for instance, very generic for IoT in Europe, they color that a little bit. And of course, you need to see if that matches also the same thing for your product, and that you find the customers that you need. But then you also need to have a look at what are the needs of those customers. And most of the IoT products, I would say you would produce maybe for the B2B market, maybe a little bit less for the B2C. As a startup, I would say the B2B is a lot easier. B2C includes a huge amount of investments that you need to do. But you need to understand a little bit about what the thinkings are of your stakeholders. What do people in the enterprises think, and where do they focus on? So you need to have a look at these enterprises where your needs are. Now, and then what you also need to understand is the use cases, because IoT products are normally used in use cases. So you need to understand a bit of the context that these enterprises have when they are having use cases. So for me, these three things are very important to understand, that you can find the right product market fit in, say, a highly competitive and diverse IoT world, because everything is different. And you need to do this exercise actually for every product. So even if your company is making 3 or 5 products, if it's 5, then you need to do this exercise 5 times. So let's go over to the next page. So, and then, because I said you need really to have a product. You can't work with a project or a technology. You can do that for testing, yes. But if you want to scale up, if you want to sell prominent numbers, you need to have a right product that people can pay for, that they can receive, that they can use, and that in a standard way. So what we are, for instance, doing at Tech Business Builders, we have set up a simple 6-step method to create actually the right product for the right customer, because it's not only the right product, but you also need to sell to the right customer. You see here these steps, so you need to make some kind of target customer profile, and that applies. So every time when you go to a different country, you probably need to do this again. You need to have a problem solution fit, so that you have a need from your customer that is served by a solution that you can offer him. And then very important, you need to define your beachhead market, because you cannot go to all these countries at the same time, or even you cannot go to, I would say, 3 or 5 verticals with a new product at the same time, because you don't have the spend, you don't have the, normally not the money for that, but also not the manpower to do this. So it is very better to first make one product for a certain vertical, for a certain set of customers, and you need to narrow that down to your niche, and find your beachhead market and become a market leader in that beachhead market. So how we do that in detail, that's something that we at Tech Business Builders do with a data model, where we help companies actually to set this all up and get this. When you have defined your beachhead market, to develop a great value proposition, make clear to your customers what you have and why they need to ask you and get you to provide a product that solves their need. Now, and only then you start making the product, because this is the initial setting up. But if you have already a product, then you can also say that you not make the product, but edit your product, because that's also a continuous iteration. And always, at the end, get it validated by customers. Give you an example. I was starting 3 years ago making satellite products for Deutsche Telekom, and we were really making this from scratch, greenfield. And we just selected a few customers that we actually built the product together with. So we had continuous product feedback from customers telling us what they would like to have, what they like and what they don't like, and also giving us information on how to improve this. And at Tech Business Builders, we've also actually automated a process where we can do this quarterly for a company and for a product, to ask customers what they think about a product and how to improve it. So this is what you need to have right from the beginning. Let's go to the next page. And then you have your product ready, and then you need to make sure that your product is then ready to go into a different market, or first in your own market, in your beachhead market that you have been defining. So specifically for IoT, here just are a few comments. And Anastasia, if you can share this among the people that are listening here, that's all fine with me, because there's a lot to talk about. But part of a good product and a ready product is that you have after sales and customer support organized. And so you need to be able to deliver it. It needs to have a price, of course, and that the price is right at the economic factors that you have in that country. It doesn't need to be the perfect one at the moment, because normally you enter a market with a product which is not 100% perfect. And you need the market to tell you to make that product perfect. But you need to listen to the market and also amend and edit the product accordingly. So you have after sales and customer support, you have the pricing that needs to be right. You need to have a look at the regulatory and compliance requirements. For some IoT products, they are very limited. For others, there are a huge amount of regulatory and compliance requirements. And one thing is for sure, there are more and more rules coming every day. And politicians work normally like making more rules and not eliminating rules. So that's why we get a lot more regulations on that, and you really need to check it. So in a few examples you find here, data protection law, the communication standards, certifications, and so on. That's important. What you also need to do, if your product is ready to go, is to see that it's scalable. That you don't need to change your product when selling it to a larger amount of customers. So you can use platforms, you need to look at interoperability, and you also need to go along with the technology trends on that area. And one thing which for most people is not really the main thing, but it's also very important, is that you have your legal and intellectual property considerations done, and that you have that on order because when you go to a different country and maybe the brand name is already taken, or say a certain technology that you want to apply is patented, that's something it's better to find out earlier than later, because otherwise it will cost you really a lot of money. Even for instance, like having the right domain name is something like that. I'm always checking the domain name as soon as possible, actually as when we have an idea, and I would do that as well. So these are a few examples for IoT products where you need to have a look at when going with your product into other markets. Can you go to the next slide? So then you define that you are going to another market with the product, and then you need to see which market that is, and to define for yourself if you are ready for that. So here are a few specific points that you need to view at when entering new markets. Now, one is the market understanding and localization. And that's a little bit, might be a little bit contrary to standardization and scalability, but there are a couple of aspects, and that might be cultural adaptation, or that might be specific consumer behavior, or certain competitors which are present in certain markets and in other markets not, where you need to have a look at that country where you want to go to. For instance, when you look at customer behavior, that can also be certain are customers actually very fond of rules and processes. For instance, I talk now about enterprises, and here it says consumer, but I talk about enterprises if certain countries are set up with a lot of processes, or are certain countries much more flexible. And if you look at market understanding and localization, for instance, I think a country like Switzerland or the Netherlands will be easier countries to get into than countries like France or Germany. And it's not for nothing that the smaller countries are maybe easier to access, because they're much more open to things which are happening outside of their countries. And that's still the case. That has actually never changed also in the last, or not changed a lot in the last 20 years. If you want to go to a certain market, you also need to look at your supply chain, your distribution, make sure that your product is deliverable and available. You might want to have a look at local manufacturing or assembly, but you for sure need to have a look at distribution channels and if the shipping and logistics are okay. Another thing is, which is important, is the marketing and awareness, because that's for sure different in each country. The marketing and awareness of a product, and also people working in those markets with that awareness, for instance, between Spain and Germany, are quite different. And you really need to be localized in that sense of how to execute that local marketing. And you want to do that maybe with certain content, but also at certain partnerships. And here it says with influencers, that can also be B2B, of course. And what I always suggest is to go to trade shows and events, because there, in 1 or 2 days, you learn more than if you're sitting 6 months behind your desk. And what I also want to maybe mention here is that that's also why we mentioned that in the beginning, at the IoT Solutions World Congress, which is an annual event in Barcelona that takes place in May next year. We have some possibilities for startups to present themselves to the European, or actually the global IoT world. If there is an interest in this, I would say, ask Anastasia. She will forward your interest to me, or and then we can make sure that you get a great offer just to present yourself there. So, and finally, in terms of getting ready for your market, you need to be part of that ecosystem in that country. So that means partnerships on the supply side, also on the distribution side, but also on the technology side. An example here is for for instance, the satellite product that we have developed at Telekom, we're focusing first mainly on the energy market. And the energy markets in Europe, they all have their national clusters. And clusters are actually a kind of an association of local and regional energy companies and suppliers and providers to that sector, where we can become membership of, and then discuss with the members there what satellite connectivity or connectivity in general, what that can help, how that can help to secure actually the communications around energy networks. So that's just an interesting example, I would say, of you can also call industry alliances. Okay, let's go to the next page, and then wrap it up also. So actually, I was thinking that we would have a bit of a live discussion. We would not have, so I wanted to ask you actually what your suggestions are for a good landing. But maybe those ones you can put up in the questions, and we can have a look at a Q&A. So I'm looking actually also for your input about what you think. What is required for a good landing in a foreign market? So maybe Anastasia, you will get some of them, and then go to the next slide, which is actually an additional cookie. This is a nice spot. It is only for fun actually, because as I said, you go into a market based on finding the right product for the right customer. But these are top 5 seats or sites where IoT product development, the next level, I would say, in Europe. You can see here in Germany for precision. United Kingdom is always good, tradition and innovation. Sweden is very interesting also, where there's a lot of going on in IoT innovations. And then mentioning also France and the Netherlands. Paris is a great IoT hub, as well as Amsterdam. But this is just for reading. So, and here I would like to actually finish off this presentation, and looking forward if you have some questions so that we can get into a discussion.
Erik, thank you so much. We have a few answers here for your question regarding what is required for the soft landing. So it's the customers. It's about the customers and testing, like testing the market before entering the market, and also like regulations. Knowing the regulations of the landscape. From me, I would also like add maybe adapting your product to how to say it, like customer mentality. So for each market, the product might look differently. And in order to do great soft landing, you need to pay attention to it, to the cultural differences of it. Erik, maybe it's a question to Ata. Can you please provide one more time the last slide where the contact data of Erik is? And just a reminder that Maxime and to all of the participants, we will share the presentation and all of the contacts of our speakers, like LinkedIn and so on. And if you will have any other questions, you can just ask us and write us an email. As of now, thank you, Ata. And as of now, Erik, we have a few questions. First question: are government regulations around IoT changing rapidly? And how often do you have to like recheck the regulations?
Yeah, actually, it's a continuous thing. It's becoming a continuous thing. I mean, when I entered the IoT world, that was maybe 10 years ago or so, because before that I did a lot of mobile virtual network operators. And then as from 2016, I got gradually into IoT. There were a few regulations, but if I look right now, there is, for instance, a regulation that is called NIS, that is an EU regulation to make actually the whole communication within companies a lot more safe. And then you have NIS 1 and NIS 2, and probably we'll also get an NIS 3. And so this is the type of the way that it goes with the regulation. So it's actually, I don't think it's possible to say, well, now I have a break, I take a coffee, and I don't look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually very continuous.
Mm-hmm. The second question would be, how does your IoT product address localization needs, like cultural preferences, for example?
Sorry, I did not hear the question properly. Can you repeat?
Apologize. How does your IoT product address localization needs, for example, cultural preferences?
Yeah, that's something, well, I don't have a product, but if you would have a product where you would need to match actually cultural preferences, how I would do that with the lean startup methodology that we use at Tech Business Builders is that we would make actually a survey presenting that product and then asking those customers what kind of aspects, experiences in this case, so personal experience of using that product, how important they are, so that at the end you can maybe get a list of 15 or 20 features or experiences that customers will want to have, and then you can map out actually which one are the most important ones, or actually which one are the must-haves and which ones are the nice-to-haves. Now, and this is a way how you can then prioritize. Also for a cultural adaptation of your product, what is first to have, but I do these things a lot with a survey and just asking customers directly.
Mm-hmm. And based on your experience, if we're talking about surveys, what are the best ways to do the customer surveys when you are when you don't have connections with these markets, for instance?
Yeah, it depends a bit on your product. If it's a product which is actually for a few customers, then you do it differently than if you have a product that for which you can have thousands of customers, because you cannot ask thousands of customers. Then you need to maybe do a kind of a survey that you put in LinkedIn, a poll or whatever, and then you just see that you get all the answers. If it's more industrial, normally you can start with say an audience which is a lot smaller. I would say somewhere between 5 and 10, that would be great. But even with feedback from 3-4 customers, you can do that. And how I do that is that I make those questions myself, and they have a certain format, and I go have interviews with these customers. I never send the survey to customers, so please fill it out, because they don't do. But it's better to have a 30-minute, 40-minute session with somebody, and then just ask these things and talk about this, and then use actually the survey to register your answers. And by that you get more quality answers. You cover everything, and you don't have much time, or you don't need much time in administering all this.
One more question that we have is, what is the bottleneck of today's innovation in IoT from your point of view?
Sorry, what is the
bottleneck?
The bottleneck. Now, yeah, it's interesting what Yuri also just said. You have actually a few things which are important in IoT, and that is actually you need power, you need memory, and you need connectivity. So these three things you will always find back at any kind of solution, I would say. If there are people saying, well, I have an IoT thing which does not have any of those three, then I'm really interested to understand that. But for me, memory, power, and connectivity are the top priority things for Internet of Things.
Thank you. And to sum up, would there be any suggestion or any recommendation for Ukrainian startups on how to navigate a European market? If there would be one suggestion from you, what would be the top crucial suggestion for Ukrainian entrepreneurs?
Well, you can always come to Barcelona in May, as you know. That's one thing, and there you will meet the world at in 3 days. But getting back for more in general, I really would first focus on a few customers in a certain vertical, so industry sector, probably in one country, and just start that you get that product offered to them and that they buy it, because it's better to start simple and small, get the machine running, and also be very close with your customer to understand why he's buying your product, and then you can step by step repeat the good things and eliminate the bad things. That's how I would do it. And actually, it really depends on the product if you want to go to the Netherlands first or to Italy first, because if your product needs high temperature, then for sure you won't go to the Netherlands or so.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your input and this presentation, and also like a huge thanks from Ukrainian entrepreneurs on our side that you are supporting us with your time and your experience in the Seeds of Bravery project, and it's important for us during these times especially. So appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, lovely to do this, Anastasia. You can invite me next time, and I wish everybody else here in the call a lot of success with starting and also scaling up their IoT company in Europe.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Erik. Dear participants, right now we are moving to our last section, which is the panel discussion. And this panel discussion is dedicated to challenges and opportunities. Will include real life experience from IoT entrepreneurs. And this session is moderated by Yulia Tkach, active chief editor at Vector. Sorry, there is a mistake that I didn't take it. Yulia is the chief editor at Vector. And the next slide, please. We'll have our panelists here today with us. So please, dear panelists, turn on your cameras, and it's your show time. So here with us today is Pavlo Pikulin, founder and CEO at Deus Robotics, Bogdan Saz, co-founder at Buntar Aerospace, Yaroslav Parhisenko, co-founder at Rekoshelf, and Dmitro Kruglov, as well as Shevchuk Volodymyr, co-founders at Miso. Yulia, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here today with us.
Anastasia, thank you for intro, and hello to everyone. Happy to open the last but not least panel discussion, challenges and opportunities, real life experience from Internet of Things entrepreneurs, and welcome applause to our panelists. We have so much to find out from our participants today. At the end of our panel discussion, we will have time for questions from our audience, so you can leave your questions in the chat and I will read them at the end. So let's start with Pavlo Pikulin. Deus Robotics is an innovative company that specializes in warehouse robotics engineering and software development. So Pavlo, recently your company announced about moving from hardware to software. Why did you make this decision, and what difficulties did you face, and how did you fight it?
Hello, everyone. Very nice question. It was a very hard decision because hardware, it was like a dream when you can design, create new type of hardware. It's always very exciting to create these products and see them live. We was quite successful in that. We created and designed two types of robots for warehousing, and our robots actually work now 7 days per week, 24 hours per day in Nova Post, and we still continue to support them. We had plans to create serial manufacturing site in Kyiv in Ukraine before the war started. But when the war started, it was very complicated to find investments to establish manufacturing in Ukraine and Kyiv. And we made decision to work with partners in China. So from last year, we start manufacturing our robots with partners in China. And this year we make our decision to not design new types of robot by our company. Why? Because we got insights with our big customers like Nova Post, and we have some customers in Europe like DPD. That the most valuable thing which we can provide to our customers, it's not just a hardware, it's create a platform which will be able to resolve their challenges in integrating robotic solutions to their business. There are a lot of robotic providers, vendors, like in IoT, and actually robots, it's also part of IoT. And we created hardware agnostic platform which can work with any type of hardware. We designed it when we created company and started designing our software. We always thinking about future, and we designed software to work with any type of our future robot. But actually, we understood that our software can work with robots from other vendors. So to scale our business faster, and because of logistics supply chain in Ukraine was broken, and it's very difficult to get investments on manufacturing in Ukraine, we decided to move from hardware to software. But we not moved from hardware fully, because we provide to our customers all-in-one solution, which includes consulting, hardware, software, implementation, and maintenance. So we continue to work with hardware. When we work with new robotic provider, we take their robots, their hardware to our laboratory, and we make some customization. We install our AI brains to this hardware. So we continue to work with hardware, but we're not manufacturing hardware, and we're not designing hardware.
Okay, thank you. So interesting. We wish you luck in your new way, kind of. Bogdane, now it's your turn. Years before Guntara Aerospace, you successfully launched Helco startup, smart AI-powered dumb-bless. I'm curious about how you switched from the civilian to defense startup, and why you choose a different field, and how the experience of the previous startup helps you now in defense.
Fantastic question. Thank you for inviting me. Well, it started on February 24th, definitely. I see everybody from my previous network, like engineers, developers, entrepreneurs. Everybody tried to get some involvement into a war in some form. Somebody got mobilized, like my partner in crime, or like better to say buddy at war, Ivan Kaunov, who previously launched FinMap.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the same startup accelerator, IoT Hub. That's a place where we actually met, like 7-8 years ago. Then he got mobilized. Then he became a soldier with really deep knowledge of battlefield. And basically, we saw this opportunity and we embraced it. We gathered a lot of engineers from our civilian experiences before. And I can say all the efforts then Ukraine and a lot of individuals put into helping to build IoT ecosystem prior to the war, from maybe 2014, 2015, it really paid off with a great value, because I know everybody who was attending some Make It Fair event, who was developing some type of software, some type of hardware. Almost everybody right now is involved. And to be honest, I'm really happy to see it.
Wow, cool. Thank you so much for your story. And maybe you could share in a few words, why the previous project was eventually closed. Maybe there are kind of problems that you can tell to us, so other startups can put it on yourself.
That's another good question. So before Bunter, I had 2 IoT startups. The first one was Halco. It was connected fitness equipment. We saw a big rise of smart fitness bracelets and other equipment, and we decided to install it into a regular fitness equipment like dumbbells and other equipment. But eventually, really simple problem. The market didn't need our product. It was really cool and good looking on pictures. And I know it's a really popular problem among other startups. When you have some nice product and you definitely feel it is something the world will need, and investors see the same, but the problem is, no, it's definitely not. Basically, that was a problem. Another startup was PhilVR, completely different story. It was connected gaming equipment. So basically, there is a huge world of fans of racing who don't have a race car, but they prefer to race near the computer in some video games. So we basically saw this need for good, realistic equipment like wheel and pedals to race on computer. We saw potential with some new technology that allowed us to dramatically decrease cost per equipment. So in that case, the market really needed this product, but the problem was a lot of bad decisions on our way, underestimating product cost, underestimating how many people you will need to actually manufacture it here in Ukraine, maybe not sourcing it to China or other country was also a mistake. So quite different problems, but it lends to a very simple idea. First, you have to make sure you will make money on it. You have a lot of customers. And after that, everything is quite easier because you can hire additional expertise. If you don't have any, you can learn it on your way. So it would be easier. I would say the biggest challenge for a small startup, and it doesn't matter in Ukraine or in the rest of the world, is to find the product market fit. That would be the biggest challenge. And I would highly advise everybody who is thinking to start doing a startup to start with this issue first.
Yeah, fair point. Thank you. Yaroslava, please share your experience. What you wouldn't recommend to do while marketing your IoT innovation based on your experience?
You should focus on key customers. So this is the camera we sold to owner of Aurora, if you know this chain of supermarkets. And after we did it, we realized that most of marketing efforts was like a noise. It's good to have background noise, like website, like advertisement, like nice promo video. And I should say our promo video reached more viewers than our competitors' promo video, but it didn't help to close the deal. So you need to really focus on your customers. And these customers has signed commercial deal. And after that, we realized who is our customer. And after that, we've signed 2 other preliminary deals with big players. One was water supply, IDS Prožomi, another is big supermarket chain. And I moved to Poland to sell the same here in Poland. We nearly succeeded. We got some money. We got some experience, but we haven't closed the deal because they had local provider. And we had some issues with partner, and we had some, this war started with just was blocked nearly completely. But then we again came back to our customers, started working, doing experiments, doing pilots. but I actually didn't do marketing. Marketing was pitching actually at some events in Poland, in Warsaw, in Google campus, in other locations where people from those corporations come. I pitched at work summits, at events like special summits like InfoShare. And this is one of the opportunity to meet people from the board, and you may talk to them one-to-one and explain your technology. So need to really think about what makes sense, what doesn't make sense when you build your marketing, and don't waste your money. Because actually, for me, IoT is B2B thing. This is B2B. You cannot sell this stuff. It's very hard to sell. Like I know one guy did it, Petku, but I think it's exceptional situation. And they wasted a lot of money as well for marketing. And Yaroslav accepted that, and he admitted in some of his conversations.
Yeah. And can you add something about how you choose market for work in it?
Yeah, we did a study. We hired a marketing company to do it for us. And they did, first of all, they did interviews with retailers.
Mhm.
And also they provided some coefficient-based evaluation of countries in Europe. Top countries were Netherlands, UK, I think France. But we end up in Poland because we've got grant here and we got customer here. So it didn't help too much, but it just gave us some understanding what are the factors we should look at. And it did help. Finally, in Poland, I realized it's very hard to do, even if you know this the market, or even better than Ukrainian market in terms of money, volumes, and stability. But it's much harder to get customers here if you compare it to Ukraine, because you're local, you know, people know how to speak. You're like closing sales much faster. In Poland, you need to speak Polish. I studied Polish, but you need to be really, really Polish to sell to Polish. So consider this as well.
Yeah, they so much love their national products. Okay, thank you. Volodymyr, we have met before in IT Arena. We write about you another project, How in our Tutsiludy. Can you please share the key risks and challenges faced and how to overcome them in IoT ecosystem from your perspective in MISU?
Thank you for your question. Look, if I had all of these topics today, 3 years ago, I think I can choose another way than Misu or Haokao, because it's about adventure, it's about a great journey, but it is so difficult. So, and for IoT solutions, all IoT solutions have an upper limit. I agree with Yuri and with Erik that if you apply some AI inside IoT solutions, you will have opportunities. Without it, maybe after 2 or 3 years or 10 years, you get lost from market. It's a core mindset from me for today. Maybe Dima would like to add something, but for me, you always should to see around you, and if you need to make some adaptive steps, you should to do immediately.
Okay, Dmitro, have you hear us? Maybe you have something to add.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you. Problems will be anyway. If you're doing IoT or not IoT, it's like the main thing what will be with us together in any ways. So there is a question only about don't give up, move forward. If you see your goal, your vision, if you clearly see your value and your clients agree with your value and want it, don't give up, just moving forward. Everything what you need will appear on your way, and that is. And yeah, totally agree with Vova that if we would know how difficult it will be, maybe we wouldn't start. But anyway, we are happy that we are now here and pass all this great way and a lot of great things in the future. So yeah.
And another question for both of you, how to do validation? Maybe you have some tips and tricks in according to your both projects.
If you talk about B2B, it's easiest because you should to go to B2B, to potential clients, future clients, and making products together. It's insight from me. If you talk about B2C, preparing a lot of resources and money and time, and to go to market, making researching, and after that, only after that, making ready to market a usable product and go forward. So B2B, it's more faster, and with less resources. If you talk and ask about B2C, it's about a lot of time, a lot of resources, people maybe. So yeah, Dima.
Yeah, totally agree. Any key to any success is preparation, good preparation, and the only way, for my opinion, to validate any idea, product, or value is your customers. So if people ready to buy it, if you have traction, it's the best validation. So yeah.
Thank you. Pavlo, what about you? How in Deus Robotics you do validation?
First of all, it's feedback from customers. We want to work with our customers directly at the early stage of our product. So we always in contact. We have B2B product. We're always in contact with R&D teams of our customers and listen to them and provide them. We brainstorm what will be the best solution for automation, and then we make a proof of concept pilot. But before provide this pilot, we created a simulation system where we can test this pilot in simulation and get numbers even before we started designing this hardware. Even before we started implementation of this project, we can calculate efficiency of new type of automation, and many ideas we validate in simulation.
Cool. I think simulation is one of the most relevant types of validation. Bogdana, now it's your second circle. From your perspective, how to find a right market and what are the key markers that it's right for you? You have a lot of experience in it.
Well, I'm a bit spoiled with defense over the last years, so it is a bit different, I would say, this way. Right now, the easiest would be to go to the front line, like 15, 20 kilometers from combat line, and just to fly with commanders, with units, to speak to them. But I know it's a bit different from civil applications. I would say it really depends on the product. My also advice would be to create some good networking, like either online or offline, because when you have a lot of people you trust, or you can just ask about something, it makes things much more easier. So if you don't have an idea about your next startup, but you would love someday to launch it, just create a fan base, community, some people in your subscriptions, because it will help you. It will help you to get this initial feedback if your idea worth something or not. But after that, it really depends. Is it a hardware? Is it a software? Depends a lot. Maybe just allocate some budget to do a really quick MVP. The same what we did at Gunter. The whole company started with deep insight on some specific need, and after that we just gathered some components from all the friends. I would say family, but not, it's like military grade components, so from friends, and just did a proof that it works. So I believe that would be the good approach to build a startup and actually to find this product market fit. Is it a right answer to your question, or would you love me to elaborate on it?
I think it's okay. I have one more specifically about defense category. Is there any institution or grant programs that helped you significantly that you would recommend to others in defense tech?
I would say Brave One. It's a Ministry of Digital Transformation initiative. Would be the good entry point. I can't say specifically they will help you with any grant or money at really a low stage, like initial stage, idea stage, because especially right now, funding allocation is really limited. From what I know, from what I heard, for really obvious reasons, but they're really good to point you in some direction, either investors, because they do have some investor community, or to military to talk to say if your idea is valuable. But when we are talking about defense in Ukraine, it's still sometimes hard to get financed. And the problem is it requires a lot of money, especially in our category. So we are talking about operational level in Ukrainian terms. Like one radio for one aircraft will cost you like what, $20,000. So you really need a lot of money. Publicly, we raised to date $2.7 million. And it was really interesting story because we started to approach like dual use investors, and it was not a right fit, perfectly right fit, because everybody was like, it's cool. Is it an explosion on pitch deck? So it is like somehow kills people. Maybe you will do some dual use application like saving pigeons or some cats or some tourists. So it can distract you a lot. And ideally to look and to build your investor pipeline with somebody who directly understands all the risks and benefits of defense. Because to be honest, like in a nutshell, defense is super boring. It is the same management, same people resource, same operations, procurement, and so on. It have a lot of problems. It's hard to get components. It's harder to get financing. It's hard even to get like compliance from a bank. Sometimes it really adds some difficulty to your life. But also it gives you a lot of advantage, especially right now, because the market so quickly developing. We don't saw any similar growth for decades. So there is a place for new companies to get into, and to help Ukraine. That's what we are after, and I believe every defense company in Ukraine for sure is the same.
Thank you, Yaroslav. And what about you? There are some institutions, grant programs.
Yeah, we've won nearly all grants from USF for Shelf, 2 programs, 25 and 50K, and also for dual use and for Bravery. It did help, but it helped also in terms of attracting investors. In case of Shelf, we attracted more investors from US, and it gives kind of more structure to your project because they are a bit bureaucratic, but they also introduce some right things. So in terms of fundraising, I also applied to many grants in Europe and won a few grants here. It helps. Here it's more like open and they don't control you as in Ukraine. You can spend money for anything according to the budget line, at least. And it helps to establish contacts. And what I noticed, networking is also great here. So participating in many grant programs, you also get access to other investors, to other startups, and you kind of build the strength by entering this area. So I really want to urge all the startups to really apply for grants. And there is kind of loyal attitude to Ukrainians in the European Union. You may get some like great benefits, except money, but other benefits as well. So please do it, and good luck.
And in addition to it, can you detail us more about the difference between Ukrainian process in Ukrainian grants and abroad? What key differences in applying or receiving?
Applying applications more or less the same. I think the steps in evaluation are more or less the same. But like amounts you may spend are actually bigger, and you might more freely use those funds. This is the main difference. But also they more care, like they really help you with their contacts. People from this grant program, they connect you to other people, to other startups. It's like more, I think, freedom of information exchange. Then we are kind of more conservative. We keep everything inside. Like here, it's more like networking, more open.
Community kind of.
Helping each other, but with the idea that it might help them as well.
Okay.
So it's like exchange.
Have you some tips? Let's take 3, for example, for people who, for startups who want to apply grant programs.
First of all, you need to go to FC6 and search for appropriate programs. This is the platform for applications for applicants. And you need to also understand what is a good fit and not, and then write down your application first in the Word, in text format, and then fill the application itself. It's just half an hour exercise. I also applied for Y Combinator for Alchemist, and we actually have one Alchemist acceleration. So the same process, always the same process. You need to find a good fit, do your job, you write maybe application, it takes up to 1 week with help of your colleagues, and then good luck and win all you can win.
Thank you. Okay, Volodymyr and Dmytro, let's talk about does B2C or B2B sales works best for your products?
After MISO, after traditional B2C market, we saw additional and easy way for B2B, because with experience with a lot of public grants, communications with GR in different countries, we got a lot of experience, knowledges, and with all these topics generate inside our B2B, next B2B product opportunities. And we understand that you always, when you making IoT solution, have 2 ways. One, you can generate both hard and soft, or you can choose only soft, applying AI and solve some weakness steps in the market. So for us, Haukau is our soul, and it's an easy way for us. We enjoy this product after MISO with a lot of GDPR processes, with different negotiations with governments. Oh, it's crazy time. But for now, our choose Haukau and B2B. But MISO, it's about next generation. It's about find and check prediction diseases for next generation. So MISO, it's about more deeper research and scientist side inside us, and Haukau is only about money, first steps on the market, and yeah, and maybe it's only about thin niches businesses. So my recommendation, keep focus for B2B market if you want to applying faster your product.
And you mentioned hard and soft. Where is the biggest margin, in hard or in soft?
In soft, because for example, we have only little part of our cost in hard part if we talk about Haukau, and it's great for us. But I know that different products have a lot of cost for hardware, trying to develop process, have to develop process in China or in India or in maybe in Japan. So I think we always should to choose soft, because you can apply on soft tomorrow, after tomorrow, and next time, and hard have upper limit always.
Yeah, and it's much harder to scale just hardware.
Yeah, I agree.
Dmitro, have you some to add to your co-founder thoughts?
I even don't know what to add because everything is pretty clear. Yeah, it really depends on what you are doing. What is your best way to move B2C or B2B? Yeah, B2B may looks easier because it's clear problems in the business. You know it and you can get it every time. But in the same time, there's much higher requirements for US for business to get in it. So it depends what you are doing. But anyway, I think in every way we can find some options. For example, if you are doing B2C product, you may have some options to join B2B partners or B2B clients in one or other way. So generally, Bush should be ready to open to any opportunity what is for you on your way.
Okay, thank you. Now we move into conclusion question to all of you. Pavlo, what are the nearest plans for you for Deus Robotics?
I want to add to a previous question.
Yeah, please, if you have.
I created one app for VKontakte. It took maybe 5 hours and I got 3 million users. So if we talk about scaling software and hardware, in most cases, scaling software provide you more margin because you don't have cost on hardware. So cost of scaling software, in most scenarios, it's more margin. But you have some good things about hardware because if you got some piece of market by your hardware, it's very difficult to compete to your competitors to take it back. But in software, it can change very fast. So if about our plans in the future, our plans to scale our business in the United Kingdom, first of all, because we got good pilots in London. We plan to get 10 customers in the United Kingdom next year. And later, we plan to scale our business to United States. Also, we want to make partnerships with 10 or 20 robotic providers to integrate our ecosystem with them. We want to work with system integrators and companies who create business management software. And also we see that our ecosystem can work not just with warehouse robots, and our vision that any type of business should be able to work with any type of robot through unified platform. And it could be like Deus platform. And I'm talking about service robots, even it can be even military robots, it can be manufacturing robots, because with each year, so more and more vendors, providers, and it's here's a problem with standardization. And if you want to replace one type of robot to another robot, or if you want to work different robots from different vendors to work in the same system, it's a huge problem for now. And we are resolving this problem. So our experience will be very useful for other industries, not just warehouse logistics. Thank you.
Cool. I hope we will hear in the nearest future about a new Ukrainian unicorn. Truly wish you. Okay, Bogdan, what about you? What your nearest plans?
To win a war.
Yeah.
Um,
What? Yeah, but please tell us.
Okay. Over the last year, we invested heavily in the product and validating it works on the front line. Now our goal is to the biggest task for us, and every activity in a company now try to lead to that outcome. But also to learn quickly, because we know everything is changes really fast, especially in defense. So I believe the product over the next year will be definitely different, or at least highly modified and updated. And to look for more team members. That would be the big task for us. As we will grow and find new markets and maybe open some markets abroad for us, or integrate with other manufacturers of UAVs, we will need to look for great talents, and that would be also the really big goal for us.
Cool. Okay, let's move to another participant. Yaroslav, what about yours plans?
Yeah, we have developed the cameras for frontline tactical observation of battlefield, and we now move more to drone monitoring because drones become autonomous, optical, etc., and it's hard to really detect those. So this is one of the line. Another line is creating a photogrammetric tool, like you have set of such cameras around the object and make a kind of virtual reality scene for very big players of this world. And this is where our experience would greatly help to win this market. We are sure we'll be able to produce the required product for them. So two directions, and we'll see how it will go, and we'll do everything, our team members, and we also look for new people. And it's not easy because of this military state situation, and you cannot reserve people. So we'll see.
We'll see. And the plans of MISO team, guys. What?
If we talk about MISO, next target for next year, trying to identify triggers of some types of cancer. It's our global goal for next year. And now with our partners from Netherlands, we almost applying algorithms for check abnormal conditions, and also it's about cancer. So it's our passion for next year. If we talk about how Dima, you can share topics because you know more about Japanese market.
So yeah, for Hakao, we are growing to other markets. Now it's our main priority scale. It's scale for new type of animals, home pets, into Japan market, starting from it. And we already engaged some clinics, veterinaries, to working and testing with all of it, engaged partners in Japan. So our next plans is grow.
And maybe rename how to how Quetzal, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Okay, it was a frack.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talk with a journalist, so be careful.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And as I see, we have a question to Yaroslav. Is it really so absolutely bad situation with Polish people? Are they tired of Ukrainian completely?
No. I haven't seen any issues, frankly speaking, but I live in Warsaw. This is a like cosmopolitan city. And later this week I go to another city and I may report about the difference if I see any.
Okay, and another one, what kind of ideas would change the attitude of Polish people?
Common victory.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I hope our attendee have a full image of what we talk about. I want to thank you all for our conversation. And Anastasia, it's your turn.
Yeah. First of all, I'm very happy that you were able to join and share your expertise. It was like really hard to get you all involved here and to find like prominent tech startup founders who are willing to share. So I know that you're busy people who want to scale their products and earn more money and then invest in Ukraine. So I'm very happy for your time and your dedication. Really appreciate it. Dear participants, we are finalizing this workshop today, and we are very happy that you were here with us. This session will be is recorded, and this session will be sent to on the YouTube channel of the Seeds of Bravery. Last but not least, I want to encourage you all to apply for the programs of Seeds of Bravery. We have next open call for P1 program is 23rd of December, and the P2, P5 is 27th of December. Not December, sorry, January 2025. And here is the link to UAC communication channels, so you can subscribe and be aware of all the programs that are open to public that you can attend. And once again, I want to thank our amazing experts and panelists that were able to join. And I wish you all and us all a safe night, and appreciate your time, and see you soon on other projects on Seeds of Bravery initiatives. Have a wonderful night, and goodbye. Good luck with scaling IoT projects.
Good luck, everybody.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you. Bye.